Hi, everybody. Welcome to another show, another episode of Optimizing Your Success with the Mentor Project. And today and from now on, we are doing double duty. We are on Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have our live show with high achievers. We have our regular crew, and then you never know who is also going to pop up. We have all sorts of interesting guests, high achievers in their own right. So that is every Monday night live, and you can view it live on the Mentor Project's Facebook page. And what is really exciting is that you can, if you're live and watching on Facebook Live, you can type in your questions, which our panelists will answer live. And double duty as of January, what we are doing is that this is now a podcast as well. So the audio will be turned into a podcast, which will go live every Saturday morning. So please look for the Mentor Project and please subscribe and rate it and review it so other people can find it. And so we are really excited. We have incredible guests this week. As I said, our usual high achievers plus some other special guests. Now, why am I so excited? Why am I so pumped up? Well, January is National Mentoring Month, and who better to kick it off than the Mentor Project? So we are going to talk about mentorship today and all month long, and I'm excited, especially this week. You will see one of my own mentors is here, and the reason that I do the research that I do is because of something that he once said to me. Now, years later, after he said that to me, someone very famous said the exact same thing. So when we get to that, I will let you know who that person is and what that comment was. Stay tuned. You're going to be really excited. I am so pumped for today's show. All right, what we're going to do now is in the way the squares are on my page, on my screen, if you could just introduce yourself, why I think you're a high achiever, and if I think you're underselling yourself, I will, put out all the peacock feathers for you to say why you're so special. So tell people what you're known for, but really short, because we want to get to our discussion. You guys ready? Janice Lintz, kick us off.
Hi, I'm Janice Lintz, and I'm known for hearing accessibility around the United States. When you see the ear symbols, a large majority of those projects are for me. I'm also traveling to every country in the world and have visited 194 countries, territories, and unrecognized nations.
Thank you. Janice, who are some of the famous people that you had to get in touch with in order to get those changes made?
Everyone from the former Secretary of Interior for the United States to the Queen of England to prime ministers and presidents around the world.
Thank you, Janice. Dr. Susan Bernstone.
Hi, and thank you for having me and hosting this. What am I known for? So I am known for transforming lives as a therapist, working with individuals, families, and groups. I'm also known for being a producer, a television producer and host for both my own show as well as recently for the Mentor Project, and I'm also a professor.
Thank you. And we get together, a bunch of us, every Saturday night just to, it's our one social Zoom of the week. So we're really excited about that. And Susan is the one who hosts it for us. Dr. Allison Escalante.
I'm not sure I qualify here because I'm not sure I've done much of anything yet, but I sure am trying to. I think right now I'm known for the should storm, which is what I call the culture of criticism and anxiety. It's driving burnout in parents and professionals, and the pandemic's put it on steroids. And I created a short method to help people take effective action under that pressure and feel more capable.
That's perfect. And Allison, just so that you know what you said of, I don't know if I fit here, every high achiever I've spoken with, and that includes Nobel laureates, astronauts, Olympic champions, they all say the exact same thing. So you are in great company, right?
Well, and just remember, all those shots I give as a pediatrician, they save lives.
That is true. Jax.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Ruth. Super excited to be here. So what I'm known for, and I believe the reason that I have a chair at this table, is my background being in the special ops. I was part of a program called the Cultural Support Team Program. It was a group of elite women that worked with the special ops prior to Congress even allowing women into the combat roles. Did a couple of combat rotations and worked with them for about 11 years. And then at that time, I took those skills and I transferred them over into the corporate world, where then I launched my own security firm for I did that for about 3 or 4 years. And today I work in corporate America as a cyber threat intel analyst, as a lead for Capital One. And then I am the COO for the Mentor Project. So super excited to be here. And Allison, I feel the exact same way you feel. Sometimes I'm wondering how do I actually have a seat at this table? So super excited to be here. Thank you, Ruth.
And Jax is the one who made sure that we are turning this into a podcast. But Jax, tell everyone that special medal that you got.
Ruth, I think you're referring to the Bronze Star of Merit that I received. Wow. And I received that while in combat, coming back home from Afghanistan. So yeah, huge award. Thank you.
Thank you. Susie Katz, welcome.
So glad to be here again. I'm Susie Katz. I'm known as a photographer, and my educational nonprofit Photo Wings, which helps people utilize photography to learn better how to think. I guess I'm known as an out-of-the-box thinker and a connector a bit. I was told I was probably a matchmaker in a former life.
You also forgot to mention that I'm everyone's publicist, I think, today. A gifted photographer. Where are some of those places that people might have seen your photos?
Travel and leisure, exhibitions. I've been spending most of my time the past decade or so on my educational nonprofit, and they can see me on videos and a lot of my website.
Nice, thank you. Pam Teagarden, welcome. We're doing brief intros. Why are you here?
I was going to say, after the bronze medal and I don't know why I'm here at all. I don't give shots to kids, nothing. No, I'm here because I'm honored and lucky to be involved in this mentor project when I can. And every time I am, it's amazing. I learned something. I used to be a banker, and then I went into corporate behavioral and positive psychology. So I have a seat at the table in between the sort of at that intersection of business and behaviors. And most recently, I've been looking at what it means to find justice inside of organizations, because I think people who are out, in the streets protesting injustice have been doing that in a much quieter way, maybe, but certainly not a less urgent or important way inside of organizations, just trying to find their well-being and their identity inside the teams. And so if you play that off of, everyone, all of the conversations, whether it be the Me Too movement, the Black Lives Matter, the LGBTQ, it's like everyone wants to be themselves and, free and treated fairly, and all of the things that I think we're reigniting a conversation that used to be simply called engagement. And engagement is not simple, and it actually is a little bit simpler when we think of it now as inclusive diversity, rather than just making everybody be happy at work, because that's about like world peace. I think right now what we're trying to find is, how do people identify in their work, not at work? And
so Pam, tell everybody, how many countries have you had businesses in? Or name 5 of them.
Businesses in, or worked in, I don't know, that'd be a tougher one, but businesses in 3 continents, 5 countries.
Name them.
Authentum is the one I have in the US right now. So the momentum of authenticity, which is what I was speaking to about inclusive diversity. Then I own an art gallery in Moscow. And I have a company called Architects of Business in the Private Equity World, where I work with business and behaviors and funding. A company called 21st Century Leadership in China, where we teach 17-year-olds innovation so that the companies will be they'll demand it of their companies. A global organization a global community called Corpus Operis, which means bodies of work. And it's about workforces, innovative, sustainable workforces, so well-being at work.
So you are busy, Pam.
You're good.
Well, I think you had 5 there.
It's 6. I'm sorry. It's Saluna Institute is a conversations about the Saluna, Sun Moon, about men and women in the workplace. It's a nonprofit.
Nice. Thank you, Pam.
That's why I'm here.
That's why you're here. Awesome. Thank you. Devin Harris, Mr. Devin Harris.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
How are you?
I
am so
well. It's great to be here. But Pam and Allison and Jax, I don't know why I'm here, but it must be the accent. I did serve, but I didn't win a Bronze Star at Jax. I haven't shot any kids, but I've fired weapons. I am known because I go downhill fast. I'm a retired 3-time Jamaican bobsled Olympian. So that's my claim to fame.
So if you ever saw the movie Cool Runnings, they took some creative license there, which Devin told me about. But that was really based on the Jamaican bobsledders, people who have never seen snow, let alone ice, all of a sudden were competing in a bobsled in the Olympics.
Yeah,
and there's some really cool facts about
crazy things happen, don't they?
When you told me this story, that was wild to me. So Devin, thank you so much. And what you didn't mention was that, or maybe did you mention that you were in the Jamaican military?
Oh, yeah. I'm a retired Army captain from the Jamaica Defense Force.
As we have learned, 3 out of the 4 original bobsledders were. All right.
Wow.
Thank you so much. So we are excited. This is fun. Thank you. And now I'm really excited. Like, how do you top all of that? All of these great people who have been on here already. It is a gift and a privilege to have Dr. Bert Shapiro on. Bert, tell us who you are, besides being my mentor.
Well, that's more than enough. But I'm now retired. But first I was a bench scientist, working in labs and teaching in academia. And then I went to NIH. And most people don't realize the vast majority of NIH budget is not spent on the NIH campus, but around the country and world. And every time you see some great finding, they're supposed to acknowledge the fact that NIH gave the money, or much of the money, or most of the money. But in my later part of my NIH career, I was involved with training medical scientists, and that's a program that involves both an MD and a PhD, and that's where I know Ruth from, because she was an administrator. That program, I think, I really expanded and put on sounder footing, and it's very important to having physicians who are effective researchers. And if you look at physicians who get NIH grants, about half come from this program, because really it requires intensive training, and I've been supporting that and dealing with it. And Ruth was so instrumental, and so I'm really here because I'm her friend.
That's what happens. Your mentors turn into friends. So for those who don't know what the NIH is, because we have people from all over the world who watch us and now listen to us on the podcast, the NIH is the National Institutes of Health, which is, how would you explain the NIH, Bert? It's where it's the funding for science comes from?
Leading supporter of biomedical research in the world, by far. And even if you take pharmaceutical companies, which direct their research to very practical, more immediate results, the NIH really is responsible. It's known around the world. If China could get the NIH and spend the money, they would do it in a flash. So, in fact, when you hear about the RNA vaccines, all that background work, all the work about mRNA, all the work about how to express it, how to encase it, how to introduce it in cells, that's all due to longstanding NIH research. And in fact, when the head of Pfizer first heard about possibility vaccine, what he did is he called people at NIH, and the other vaccine had been coordination. So really, I think it's the heart of America's biomedical effort, and America's biomedical effort is way and away the largest in the world.
Thank you, Bert. And so basically, Bert is the one who controlled the funding, the money, to decide if my program and 40 some odd other programs across the country were going to get the millions of dollars. So he very much controlled the purse strings. But the reason he became so important to me, and really what we're talking about today and all month long, is about the mentorship. He really helped me in my career. And that's why I'm so honored that he came on the show today, because as many of you know, I was 43 when I decided I was going to get my doctorate, and only 5 people knew that I was applying. 3 of them wrote my letters of recommendation.
You didn't look like you were 43.
That's because I'm only 29. I started, right out of daycare. But Bert was actually one of the 5 people who knew. And I asked him to write a letter of recommendation, and he didn't say, "You're crazy." He didn't say, "How are you going to get in?" He didn't say, "How are you going to manage it all?" or "How are you going to balance it?" Right away, he said, "Yes, absolutely." He wrote the letter. And then when we were discussing the topic for my dissertation, I was kicking around some topics. I knew it was going to be about physician scientists, since that was what I was working. And Bert, I don't even know if you remember saying this to me, but it was one sentence that had such an impact and is really the reason we're all here today. And he said to me, "Do something important, not just interesting." And he said, if it's interesting, that's nice, but nobody's really going to pay attention. Do something important. And that was I was thinking about that one statement all the time. Bert, do you even remember saying it?
Yes, I do. And I was also thinking, I don't know how many of you have ever read or heard of Joseph Campbell, who was, yes, you know Joseph Campbell. And he was incredible polymath and an expert on religions and cultures around the world. So whatever people would come up with, he could say, well, in ancient, this African culture and this Asian culture, they have the same thing, and this is the purpose. And anyway, and his advice to people was follow your bliss. And I think that's really what I was saying to Ruth. This is what gives you joy. Why are you doing other stuff? Follow it and go deeply into it.
And that's what I did. And so I interviewed a lot of physician scientists, and then that grew into the other things, which is what the upcoming book is about, which is the astronauts and the Nobel laureates and the Olympians, which is how I met Devin, and other people like that. And you know who gave me the same exact advice as you, Bert, but years later?
Not Donald Trump.
Nope. Who else said to me, do something important, not just interesting? Do you know?
Maria.
No. You're thinking of Marie Volpe, but no.
Yes, Marie. No? Okay.
A guy, I'm not sure if you heard of him, Dr. Tony Fauci. He said, if it's interesting, it's a hobby. But if you want to have an impact, it has to be important. So I don't know if that's just the way scientists think, but it was so interesting that you both said the same thing to me. And now every time I make a decision, it's, will it have an impact? Is it important, or is it just interesting? So your words live on. Devin, I saw you were really excited about what Bert was saying. Oh, we can't hear you, Devin. Devin, we can't hear you.
Oh, yeah. You can
now
hear
we
me
can.
now?
Now we can.
Yeah, my mic was mute. It's the only way you can keep me quiet, actually. But he mentioned Joseph Campbell, and I kind of looked off to my right because I have the book right there. But I so agree with him, and Tony Fauci, that you should do something that makes an impact, right? Because in the end, we can work hard and accomplish things that make us feel happy, so to speak, make us feel good about ourselves. But I'm so interested in doing something that is going to touch the life of somebody else. And the fact is, every single one of us have benefited from someone who went ahead and, they use the term "pay it forward." Somebody who has helped somebody who helped you. And I feel that certainly the way I live my life, I feel I have a responsibility to help every single person I can, and to live my life in such a way that it inspires other people to go pursue their dreams, as ridiculous as they may seem. Like, being 43 and trying to go do your PhD. How ridiculous is that? But
no more ridiculous than never seeing snow or ice and
that's easy.
being on a bobsled, representing your country.
But absolutely. I mean, that's why dreams are there. They start out and they seem, when you dream of these things, they seem ridiculous and impossible. And then you start and they seem just incredibly difficult. But if you keep trying, as I say, if you keep on pushing, one day you wake up and it's actually history because you've accomplished it.
That's right.
So I
go ahead,
just have to add that, Devin, not only did you look right when she mentioned Joseph Campbell, but I also looked right when Bert mentioned Joseph Campbell, because the book is on my shelf right there.
Right.
But I have a counterpoint here, because that was a piece of advice that I was given my last year of pediatric residency at University of Chicago. And we were told it's not enough to take this training and be a pediatrician or be a good doctor. You need to use this and you need to make an impact. And I'm like, I'm exhausted. I haven't slept in 7 years, and I'm completely overwhelmed by what you just said. So I went out and just tried to be a good enough pediatrician for a few years. And for a while, then I started working on what I thought was interesting. And it was by pursuing what I was doing that was interesting that I finally got to the point where, when I had enough energy and bandwidth, suddenly I'm like, oh my gosh, I think this thing could make an impact.
And it did. Hey, Pam.
It seems to me that what you did to find your interest and what you did to be a good enough pediatrician was important to you. The self-care that you needed, because I find it interesting. I don't like to do resolutions, New Year's resolutions, but what I tend to do, and this is something Ruth just said, I tend to do like a theme. I might say the word fit, and I mean physically fit, mentally fit, does it fit relationship, whatever it is. And it allows me to have a theme for the year. And I find it interesting the way you put it, Ruth. You said, now I think about all my decisions. I wonder if my word this year needs to be important. And sometimes importance is not doing what might be others' view of important. If in fact you need that rest, the most important thing you could do for you to get to the important thing for the world. I don't know. Yeah. I'm finding that word is important, for lack of but it feels that if you're not wasting your time, that you're consciously taking this on because this is important, that might be my theme. So thank you for my New Year's resolution.
It's important, and it's to have impact, because what Bert said to me as we peeled off the layers of this statement is that I was going to approach something in a way no one did before. And that in and of itself would have an impact. So again, Bert, I don't even know if you remember making these statements, but they had such a profound impact. So thank you. Did anyone else get really great advice from a mentor or anything like that? Janice, you were going to say something?
Just to add on, I think just on the previous thought, I think sometimes you can combine the two. So I wanted to travel to every country in the world, really not important to anyone but myself, like very self-serving. And I was working on hearing access. And I realized that if I wanted to accomplish my goal, if I combined the two, and as I traveled, I tracked global best practices around the world, I could fulfill my own personal goal and then also do something important. And in the end, by tracking global best practices around the world of hearing access, I ended up doing something really important, but I didn't know it. I just knew it was the only way to make me personally happy. So I think sometimes you can combine, because my travel was definitely a hobby, and now it's like a mix. The downside is it's such a mush. There's no separation between my work and my play anymore, that I have like blurring. I'm working 24/7. So that's the downside of that. And in fact, I'd love to talk to Devin to find out what hearing access is in Jamaica. So, because I haven't been to Jamaica in a long time, and I need to find out, because it's a former Commonwealth country, and usually the Commonwealth countries have greater access.
When were you last in Jamaica?
During the revolution.
The revolution in Jamaica?
Yeah, like way back in the 70s.
Oh yeah, it wasn't quite a revolution, but yeah, we did have some unrest. Yeah, that's a while. Yeah.
Unrest. Sorry to mischaracterize it. Sorry, the unrest. I just know a funny story, but we weren't allowed to leave the hotel. My mother found a deal, and this was pre-internet. I know you're hysterical, Ruth, but she found this great deal. Didn't realize that there was unrest. And we went only to find out there was unrest and we couldn't leave the hotel.
Yeah,
Lovely.
Do you remember where you were?
It was the Holiday Inn in
Montego Bay.
Yeah, in Montego Bay.
Yeah.
Oh no, sorry, in Ochos Rios.
Yeah.
Devin likes to travel.
Yeah. No. I may have to join her. I'd like to travel as well. But yeah, I'm not sure how to answer how to speak intelligently on what the hearing access is. I
didn't mean to hijack the whole conversation. I know Ruth wants to talk about mentors.
That's true.
Jax, you were going to say something?
Yeah, Ruth, I wanted to pivot a little bit on this. So we've talked about some positive mentors, but something that I wanted to bring up, because myself personally, my journey of the mentor-mentee road has been very unique and almost very unconventional in some ways. I have had a lot of bad mentors in my life until as of recent. And I can tell you that through my experience of having the bad mentors, I have learned probably just as much from them, because it was not only did I learn what I did not want to do and what type of mentor I wanted to be, but it also allowed me through my journey to kind of adjust my mindset and I started diving into books, and that's where I started finding my mentor during this transitioning time. This was right around 2015 and 16, when I started realizing that the mentors I have in my life are not the ones I want, but how do I define the one that I actually want? And then my mentors became books for years. And then it was probably 2018, 2019 that I started bringing in the right mentors into my life.
So it's so fascinating that you say that, because all high achievers who I've interviewed, and this is in all of them, the astronauts, the Olympians, all of them have had mentors, and not just one, they have many of them. But another thing they do is that they consume knowledge. And it's interesting that you said the books were your mentors, because mentors are giving you guidance, right? You have to come to them with what your goal is and some sort of a plan, and they help you actualize that plan, finesse it, smooth out the edges, make contacts. But if you can't find a human being who can do that, you can possibly find that information through the books that you did, or through a podcast, or through anything else. So all of the high achievers, it's not, you heard that high achievers, all the billionaires wake up at 4 or 5 in the morning and read for 5, 6, 7 hours a day, like Mark Cuban and Bill Gates and Warren Buffett. It's not about reading for many hours a day. It's about consuming knowledge. And you can do that by reading. You can do that by talking to people. You can do that by listening to podcasts. You can do that by reading. You can do that by listening on Audible. I mean, there's 1,001 ways to consume knowledge and get that information. So if you couldn't get it from a human being, you just got it another way. But I'm curious, Jax, is there something you learned never to do because of some of those bad mentors?
I think the biggest thing, and this was as of recent when I had a mentor in my life about a year ago, and I realized that it was not a mentor I wanted, because one of the things that the individual did is they never made time for the individual. They would act like they want to make time for you, but then their schedule gets very busy. So what that translates to is it's very important that your mentees feel seen and feel heard, and you make time for them, even if it's 20 to 30 minutes a month. Make sure you set time aside for them to let them be heard. That's the biggest thing. So when I have mentees, I make sure that I set time aside every month, even if it's just 20 to 30 minutes, and it makes a drastic shift in their energy when you do that.
Absolutely. And I also believe in something called hallway mentoring. So hallway mentoring, back in the day, we used to think that you need to meet with your mentor, usually someone older, wiser, and male, every other Tuesday at 4:00, and you'd have an agenda. Well, that's not realistic anymore. Not in the fast-paced world that we live in, certainly not during a pandemic. And I always encourage people to do what's called hallway mentoring, which means even if it's a quick check-in conversation in the hallway, by the coffee machine, a text, a WhatsApp message, a Facebook message, whatever medium you want to use, just to check in so that the person knows that you are there. Both the mentor knows that the mentee is actually still alive and well and actively pursuing their goals, and the mentee, so that they know that they have a mentor that they can contact if they are struggling with something, have a challenge, have some great news they want to share, have something they want to talk through, whatever it is. So it does go both ways. And I definitely encourage what I call hallway mentoring. Has anyone tried that? Bert?
Well, I wanted to change it from mentor to detractors, because you all have had detractors, and particularly women have repeatedly been told, you can't do that, this isn't for you, it's male. So I want to know, how did you deal with the detractors, and how did you overcome those attitudes?
The detractors?
Yes.
Oh, Allison wants to answer that one.
Oh, that's simple. If you tell me I can't do something and that's not for me, there is nothing that makes me push harder than to accomplish what you just told me I can't do. So I have trouble with positive feedback. That's something I've had to grow a lot to be able to accept. Like when someone tells me, hey, that was great. And I'd be like, oh, okay. But someone tells me you can't do it, you're not good enough. Then I'm like, it's on.
Devin, I'm sure you have what to say about this.
Well, actually, I was going to ask her a question, because I am the exact same way, and I'm trying to understand the psychology of it. I mean, if you want me to do something, just tell me I can't do it. What do you think it is, Allison, and you, that makes you go, oh, really? I'm going to show you.
Well, it's funny
Everyone
because
here, I think everyone on this panel has that same personality, Devin.
Yeah, I'm curious what other people
help
have
me
to say.
understand myself.
I think I don't know. I mean, my sport in college was fencing. I've just always had it's not the right word, Jax, but I've been told I have a killer instinct, and that's not fair because I'm not really I'm a healer. I'm not like but yeah, when the competition's on, man, it's on.
Yeah.
And in 4th grade, the boys of the neighborhood told me I couldn't play football with them anymore. And so I knocked a bunch of them down. And, it's just.
Yeah.
Allison, I can absolutely relate with you on that. And Devin, for my personal perspective of why I am that way and driven, where if you tell me I can't, I'm going to prove you wrong times 10, it's my childhood. Where in conventional society, where I have been born from, I should not be where I'm at today. And I know that, I know that every time I take a step forward into the direction that I want to go, I'm proving all of those people in my past wrong. That used to be my driving force. It's still there, part of me, But in current times today, if somebody tells me I can't do something, I think about it logically and I ponder it for a little while and think, do I want to push through this? Is this my ego talking, or is this a challenge that I actually need to accept and push through, because maybe the glass ceiling needs to be broke. And I think a lot of the women on here can contest to that, is if we didn't have that mentality of we're going to push through this because we're told we can't, these glass ceilings would have never been broke. Women wouldn't be in combat arms. We wouldn't have women in Congress. And that's where we have strong women on this call right now that are very much.
I will say, Jax, and the high achievers are often told no, and this is all genders, but they don't hear it as no. They hear it as not yet. And Debbie, maybe you could put in the link, the article, the Forbes article about when high achievers are told no, they actually hear not yet, because it's no on your terms. It's not yet on my terms. You just haven't seen it done, right?
Yeah.
Susan, go ahead.
Or is it I hear I dare you too. It's like,
The dare.
yeah. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, what? I mean, you tell me it can't be done, and it sounds like you're speaking Russian, which I don't speak. It just doesn't compute, and so I don't hear you, and I double down. And
well, Devin, I mean, maybe this might be a good time to briefly say it. And Susan, I know you wanted to say something, but Devin, briefly, 4 Jamaicans never saw snow, never saw ice, and 4 months later, we're in a bobsled going downhill. And can I say what your fear is, Devin?
Yeah, of course.
Devin's afraid of heights.
And speed. I have a screw missing. So here's the thing. Let me shed some of the myth. A couple of us had seen snow. I was trained in England, Jax, at the Royal Military Academy, Sandhurst, which is like West Point. So I saw a little bit of snow. But having said that, we had never seen a bobsled in our lives. September 1987, when the team was initially selected. But I think when we go back to not just doing something that is important, but something that has an impact. But it starts with you having this tremendous interest and a drive and an ambition. And all of us have this desire to represent our country at the Olympic Games. I've always wanted to represent Jamaica in sports. And so that was just my ticket, man. Here it was. I was born and raised in Jamaica, where everybody sprints fast except me. And so here was an opportunity to jump on a sled and go to the Olympic Games. And yeah, I was scared of speed and height like there was no tomorrow, but there was no way. I'd rather die. And I remember on my first run, I go, you know what, if I die, I die, but I'm going. So you just do it, and you face your fears until you can live with it. And you do something that people think is impactful.
So, and you motivated, I think, a whole generation of people. And I will say, I just from what you told me, while you were not a sprinter, you were a runner. Mm-hmm. You were just a long distance runner. So, and the bobsled needed sprinters. So
yeah, and so I think I was really a sprinter in disguise. I was impatient. I wanted to win like yesterday, and I wasn't. The sprints wasn't cutting it. So I ran middle distances, and I'm like, okay, I'm a middle distance runner. And I think in a way it's to go back to what we're saying, when someone or something tells you it can't be done, you find a way to do it. And I wasn't finding a way to win sprints. So I ran something else, and I go, okay, I'm a winner. Here we go. Let's do this.
Love it. Thank you, Devin. Susan, you were going to say something.
Yeah, so this is, remember, the therapist speaking now, this comment. Yeah. So especially, Jax, when you were talking, for some people, it's what I call a healthy combination of healthy grandiosity and healthy low self-esteem that combines. So it's like you don't feel really good about yourself because of maybe messages that you got either from your family of origin, your society at large, or your social group, but inside you really know that you can do great things. So it's both, and they're always going at each other. And I found that a lot of people who high achievers have that, because it's like, okay, still, and then it's oh, me, I'm not a high achiever. Oh, I only won a Nobel Peace Prize. I'm not a high achiever. I only won a gold medal. I'm not a high achiever. Oh, I only won an Olympic medal. I'm not a gold, excuse me, and it's like, so there we see the low, like, it's low, not so much self-esteem anymore, but like putting it down to you have to really think highly of oneself in a healthy way in order to even go for it, right? Because you have to have that notion that I can't do it. So I always like to say it's a healthy combination of the two extremes.
Susan, can I ask a therapist? I'm sorry. I know the English isn't correct, but I say that you have to be delusional to think you can accomplish these grandiose goals, because there's nothing in your background that suggests that it's even remotely possible. But here you are, going after these goals.
Right. Yep.
And I want to definitely add to that, Dr. Susan. So, while I was talking, the reason that I said that I no longer allow the negativity to push me, and because you were touching on it, we have to eventually, as high achievers, start finding that self-confidence within ourselves in a healthy way. That might be our drive to get us where we are today, but we have to develop a new and healthy drive to get us to that next place into our life. And that's what I've realized too.
Right.
I love that. Susie.
Thank you. I think it's really important to consider your source. As my mother used to say, some people are very well-meaning and they want to have you be in the realm of what they know. There are many photographers who see a certain way and they only want to edit in the way that they know, or people that don't have your vision. So it's really important to understand where they're coming from. I had a mentor when I was 18, and she said, Susie, I love you, get out of Miami, because I needed to be in a whole different environment. And there's some people that can be threatened that if you're not growing up and staying where you grew up, then you're not going to do well. And there's other people who are just very, very nourishing. And I'm very visual. My late husband used to say that I saw myself as if through the wrong end of binoculars. So to surround yourself with nourishing people who are going to help you be the best you that you can be, and not just something that they know, because many people have a different way of thinking than other people. So it's important to find that community.
Absolutely. And so many mentors actually, as Jax is talking about the negative things of mentors, I think to me, one of the most negative things is when the mentors try to create mini-me's, when they try to create you in their image, right? But you're your own person with your own way of doing things and your own dreams that you want to do. They can help you get there, but there is going to be some variation. You can't be exactly the same as somebody else.
And there are some people that are well-meaning in their mind, but you may threaten them, and they might try to hold you down. And it's just better to go a different route and find people again that are going to be nourishing, and find a way that's going to work for you, rather than banging your head against the same wall. Just find a different path sometimes.
Susie, was exactly that thinking that was the reason that I wrote an article for Forbes called Why Your Boss Shouldn't Be Your Mentor. Because if you succeed too much, they're going to have to replace you. And it's expensive and it's a lot of work to replace someone. And that's why I'm saying it's not that your boss shouldn't be your mentor. They should not be your only mentor, because everyone has biases. You're human. You can't not have them. So if you have what I call a mentoring team, you will be able to get your blinders off and their blinders, because you'll hear all these different perspectives. And at the end of the day, you choose what's right for you.
Agreed. I had a mentor who was great, and then became, I was becoming too successful, and she was not happy about that. And I was exceeding her expectations. So I was appointed to the FCC's Consumer Advisory Committee. And initially I was not, under Chairman Martin. I'm under Chairman Powell. And so I thought I should have been appointed. So there was a new chairman. So I contacted the new chairman, hoping he would appoint someone different than his predecessor. And ultimately he agreed and appointed not only myself, but other people. And when I was appointed and had overcome this barrier, I think she was really upset, but she thought her son, who I had to have an alternate just in case I couldn't go to Washington. She thought her son should receive the position because he was out of a job and it would enhance his resume. And so she asked me to step aside. So I didn't know what to do because this woman had been a terrific mentor. So I actually went to the strongest woman I knew, who terrified me, like absolutely terrified, a mother in my daughter's class. And I asked her what to do because I was like, oh, I didn't even know what to do. And so she said, would a man ever do this? And I said, never. So she said, then why would you do that? I said, I don't know. She's like, I'm like, good point. So I went. It ended up being important that led to changes in legislation, and I was the right person to be. But I will say my current mentor is it was also the best thing for me to break away from that mentor, because it opened me up to a new mentor who has now been my mentor for, I would say, 12 years, and has been so incredible to me, like in ways that I would never be. And the best part is, today, she asked me to help her with something. So now I'm mentoring her on legislation, which is so fabulous. And to me, that's the greatest compliment.
And that's what true mentoring is. So I always encourage people to get mentors from different industries, because every industry has their own lane, and you want to know maybe it was solved in some other lane, some other industry. And I also think that there's 3 levels of mentors that you need. You need the senior people, because the senior people have seen it all. They've done it all. They know everybody. They've got this enormous network. They know what's going to be difficult to maneuver. What are some of the easy ways? What are the shortcuts? What has worked for others in the past? What hasn't? So you want to go with those senior people for sure. You also want to go with peers, people who are at your level, because they know a lot of information across other industries as well. And also peers rise together, which is really important. So for those of you who are really young out there, you might be students. You're not going to be students forever. One day you're going to be a CEO, and that person sitting at a desk next to you is also going to be a CEO. And now you're going to have friends who are CEOs, because peers rise together. And then the other one is you want people who are junior to you, because those who are junior, they know things that you don't know yet. There are all these new things that are popping up, the whole new vernacular, just look at the technology and the social media. It's probably not people of our generation who are going to test drive it first. It's going to be people who are maybe a generation younger than I am. And another time I can tell you the story of how I started using Twitter, but it was actually college students who taught it to me. So it's definitely those 3 levels. I would also add that you should get retirees on your mentoring team, because the retirees have absolutely nothing to lose. They know how to play the political game better than anyone. They know where the bodies are buried. They know which skeletons are in the closet. They will tell you who will have your back and who will stab you in the back. And they can speak freely. So really, you want to get those retirees on your mentoring team as well. So that was a sneak peek of that little mentoring team for you. Does anyone have anything they want to add? Pam, go ahead.
That, there's a difference between mentor the noun and mentor the verb. Mm-hmm. And so when we talk, a lot of our stories have been around someone who was not mentoring us well, or a mentor. It's like sort of, it's an interesting thing. And I find that the word can get misused. So I'm listening to all of your stories. I'm putting this together just from everything everybody said. There's something about the timing of the mentor relationship, how long it goes or how long it's meant to. There's also the agreement and the communication about what part we play and why. And then there's also the idea that you have more than one, because you need different things and one person can't be all of that. Because I was sort of listening to the stories thinking, you remember in the olden days, we would say, like, in the corporate world, it went from counseling to coaching to mentoring to sponsorship.
Yeah.
We just changed the buzzword because we weren't getting what we needed. And I kept thinking, don't you think the people that were coached thought they were being sponsored? And, it just sort of was like, what is it you want from this relationship? Because they're doing it right or wrong according to the communication of your needs and the role and the timing and all that. And so I think it's also important that you understand that, I will leave a keynote speech and a line of young women will be talking to me and they'll email me and I'm going to email them back. And all of a sudden I hear on Facebook, I'm somebody's mentor.
Yeah.
And I mentored her maybe, but I didn't know that. And I'm fine with that. I wouldn't have been able to have a formal relationship with them all, but you touch people in different ways and they might believe it's mentoring. So I think there's an interesting element here that there's a formal degree of it. And then there's like a need along your life of what your growth and your development should have in it from someone.
Absolutely. And next week, we're wrapping up. Susie, I'll let you have the final word, but next week, I will tell everyone the difference between role model, mentor, coach, and sponsor. And if I forget, please remind me. Susie, last word before we say our goodbyes.
Okay. My advice to young people or anyone that is considering a career change is to do a lot of informational interviewing. Find people that are in the area of interest that you have and the career that you have, and ask them what worked, what didn't, what's that life like. And it really can really give you a head start and knowing what you're interested in and save you a lot of mistakes. I had a mentor that said, I can't teach you anything that you can't learn on your own. What I can do is save you time.
That's right. I love that statement. I've heard you say that before, and I think that's very, very powerful. Thank you. So we are going to continue our mentoring conversations probably all month long with different angles each time. And remind me again next time to tell you the difference about role model, mentor, coach, and sponsor. All the panelists are going to tell you how you can reach out to them and hear more about them in just a second. I do want to remind you, we are on a podcast. Look for Mentor Project wherever you go listen to podcasts. Please subscribe and leave us a rating and review so other people can hear us. For those of you who want to hear us live, go on to Facebook Live, The Mentor Project, every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We do have our high achievers getting together. We have our usual group and we have surprise guests. You never know who's going to show up. So the mentors now and the high achievers now are going to tell you where you can learn more about them. Janice Lentz.
I can be found, thank you for having me. I can be found at janicelentz.com or hearingaccess.com.
Thank you. Dr. Allison Escalante.
It's always fun being here, Ruth. You can find me, if you spell my name correctly, at allisonescalante.com, that's one L, or shouldStorm.com.
And I highly recommend looking at her TED Talk. Jax, our bronze medalist, bronze star.
You got it. You're good. Hey, everybody. So happy to be here. You can find me on the Mentor Project website and then also on LinkedIn at just Jax Scott. I wanted to add one more thing. We have another podcast coming out on Wednesdays and is Meet Your Mentor. So check that out. We're going to be deep diving. Dr. Gotian is on there. Dr. Ruth, Susan Bernstone is on there. So we're going to dive into what a mentor means. And they talk about it from their own voice. And Janice, you're on there as well. So
Thanks.
Thank you. Great plug. Susie Katz.
You can find me at photowings.org, photowings.org. You can find me on the Mentor Project 1 hour with a mentor, and to see a little bit of my own photography, SusanKatzPhotography.com.
Which I highly recommend. There are colors there you didn't even know existed. They're gorgeous. Pam Teagarden.
You can find me on LinkedIn, Pam Teagarden, and let's see, my website is authentum.com, the momentum of authenticity. And I have my new research is out at www.mindsetdiversity.com.
Thank you. Dr. Susan Byrne-Stone.
And thank you again. And I can be reached at the Mentor Project or at drsusanburnstone.com. My website, LinkedIn, you can shoot me an email, drsusanburnstone@gmail.com. You can just type me into Google and you will find me. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Bert Shapiro.
Yes, I can be reached on mstprex@gmail.com. And please, if you know any young people who are thinking of becoming physicians, research physicians, contact me. It might change their lives.
I will tell you that I have sent countless people over to Bert. And really, if there's anyone there who's thinking about being a physician scientist, someone who has an MD and does research, I strongly encourage that you reach out to Bert. And I will tell you his email again. It's MSTP, like Mary. It's Medical Scientist Training Program, MSTP Rex, REX, @gmail.com. For those who don't know, Rex in Latin means king, and we called him our king because he controlled our money. So mstprex@gmail.com. Last but not least, Devin Harris.
Yeah, I'm at devonharris.com. Thought I'd make it easy. Email is devon@devonharris.com. I'm on Instagram and Twitter at keeponpushing88, keeponpushing88, and of course on LinkedIn as well.
And you have a podcast as well.
Oh, I do have a podcast, Keep on Pushing TV. So if you go to YouTube, it's Keep on Pushing Always. Keep on pushing, operative word right there. So yeah, come on over, join us. We'll share ideas and insights on how you can do exactly that. Keep on pushing and live your absolute best life.
Love it. Thank you. I am Dr. Ruth Gotian. I can be found at ruthgotian.com. That's RuthGotian.com, and all the social media, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. It's just my name, Ruth Gotian. Tomorrow we have a fun article about the voices of mentors and mentees that's coming out in Forbes tomorrow morning. So go check that out. If you just put in my name, you'll hear all about it. And behind the scenes, making us look so glamorous and gorgeous, is Dr. Debbie Heiser, who is the CEO of the Mentor Project and our hostess with the mostest. Thank you guys again so much. Devin, Bert, I hope you will join us again because we have so much more to learn from you. See you all next week. Bye.